Get this. After a freak accident and supposedly losing my memory, I somehow ended up with 4 drop-dead gorgeous girlfriends. Surrounding my hospital bed were 4 absolutely stunning faces. And get this, every single one of them claimed to be my girl. One was a freezing cold, Ice Queen CEO. One was a top-tier, A-list celebrity. One was a sweet, incredibly caring doctor. And then, there was another one who looked awfully familiar. And she was incredibly sweet. My head was totally buzzing, just watching them bicker endlessly over who was going to stay the night with me. Right then, a brilliantly perfect plan began to form in my mind. Since you all insist, then I'll just conveniently forget everything. The sharp, burning smell of hospital disinfectant hit me right in the face. I snapped my eyes open, my vision slowly clearing from a hazy blur. The first thing that caught my eye was this blinding, stark white ceiling. God, my head felt like it was literally splitting wide open. My entire body felt like it had been run over by an 18-wheeler. Every single inch of my muscles was absolutely screaming in pain. Where the hell am I? I rasped out, groaning as I pushed up half my body. In an instant, 4 intense sets of eyes locked right onto me. 2 on the left side of the bed, 2 on the right. 4 absolutely stunning women, each rocking a completely different vibe, were staring at me with this wild mix of harsh scrutiny, deep worry, burning curiosity, and a really complicated look of total disdain. My brain buzzed like crazy. Suddenly, a massive flood of memories that definitely didn't belong to me came rushing right in. My name was Evan Green, just your ordinary everyday corporate drone. Just last night, I was back in my crappy rented apartment reading some brainless power fantasy web novel. I was totally invested in the story, mercilessly mocking a pathetic minor character in the book who just happened to share my exact name. The original host was so incredibly stupid and way too naive. But right after that, everything just went pitch black. When I opened my eyes again, boom. I had magically become the ultimate heir to a top-tier billionaire family straight out of that book. I'm talking about sitting on hundreds of billions in family wealth, armed with absolutely flawless looks and a top-of-the-line, shredded physique. But no, this idiot just had to be a hopeless romantic, desperately chasing after that highly manipulative, wildly toxic female lead. He completely and utterly ruined his own reputation. In the end, thanks to some brutal corporate power struggle, he was totally set up and got into a nasty car accident. And now, here he was, lying half dead in a hospital. And these 4 gorgeous women standing right in front of me, they were the exact same ones hopelessly entangled with him in the novel. The one standing closest to me on my left, wearing a sharp, custom-tailored suit with an aura as freezing cold as ice, had this raw, undisguised contempt burning in her eyes. That was Vivian Vance, the cutthroat CEO of the Vance Group and the exact fiancé arranged for me by the Green family for some heartless business marriage. She was an absolute prodigy in the business world. But let's be real, a total walking disaster when it came to everyday life. Groomed to be an heir since she was a little kid, she absolutely loathed useless trust fund brats like the original host, who literally did nothing but squander their pathetic lives away. The one right next to her was decked out in a full Chanel outfit, clutching a pair of designer sunglasses, practically radiating blinding star power even inside a stuffy hospital room. Chloe Simmons, a wildly popular, totally untouchable A-list celebrity. The original host had thrown an absolutely insane amount of cash into artificially boosting her career. To the clueless public, she had always carefully maintained this arrogant persona of, oh, young Master Green is just totally head over heels for me. Now, over on the right side, wearing a crisp white lab coat, looking incredibly gentle and deeply worried, was the main attending physician of this elite private hospital, Dr. Stephanie Lane. Every single time the original host caused massive trouble or got himself sick from his endless, wild partying, she was always the reliable one stepping up to clean up his giant, chaotic mess. Over time, some highly unspoken, deeply ambiguous feelings had definitely developed between them. And then, the one standing furthest back, wearing a beautifully simple, elegant dress, just waiting there so quietly. Her clear, doll-like eyes carried this soft, genuine hint of timid concern. That was Clara Frost, the actual, true female lead of the novel, and the one with the most terrifyingly unfathomable background. Her family's true power was leagues above the Vance family's reach, but she always chose to keep a ridiculously low profile. The original host actually had a legit engagement with her, but that idiot must have been completely blind not to see her worth, choosing instead to blindly chase after all those superficial plastic party girls. Now that these insane memories had fully merged into my brain, only one single thought crossed my mind. Man, I am so exhausted. Just let it all burn to the ground. I seriously didn't want to play out any of that cliche, face-slapping, underdog revenge storyline crap. I absolutely did not want to get violently tangled up with this intense, complicated group of women. I just wanted to lie back, thoroughly enjoy my hundreds of billions in family wealth, confidently flaunt my six-pack abs, chill in a massive luxury mansion, eat the finest food, and casually sip premium wine. I mean, isn't that way better than dealing with some exhausting corporate warfare or messy romantic drama? Evan, you're finally awake. Vivian Vance was predictably the very first one to speak. Her voice was just as brutally cold as her icy demeanor. The doctor clearly said you took a heavy hit to the head, and there might be some rather lingering side effects. There honestly wasn't even a tiny shred of genuine warm concern anywhere in her cold eyes. It was pure, calculated scrutiny. It was exactly as if she were coldly evaluating a damaged piece of merchandise, just trying to see how much actual value it had left. Then, Chloe Simmons dramatically took off her sunglasses, forcefully squeezing out a few fake tears. Evan, you practically scared me to death. If anything bad ever happened to you, how could I possibly go on living? Her acting was so incredibly painfully forced, it literally made my skin crawl. Meanwhile, Stephanie Lane gently stepped forward, picking up a medical instrument to carefully check my pupils. Her tone was wonderfully soft and gentle. Mr. Green, how are you feeling right now? Do you feel any sharp discomfort anywhere? I completely ignored all of them, letting my gaze sweep right past the loud crowd, finally landing directly on Clara Frost, who was tucked away in the furthest corner, completely stunned by my intense gaze. Her fair face blushed a soft pink, and she nervously clutched the edge of her dress, looking totally lost and adorable. She's the one. The original novel made it crystal clear that Clara Frost was the only person who genuinely cared for the original host's well-being. She came from a flawless family background, possessed the absolute gentlest personality, and her stunning looks fit my exact type perfectly. She was simply the ultimate dream partner for my early retirement lifestyle. On the other hand, we had Vivian Vance, an obsessively career-driven alpha woman. Being with a tyrant like her would be way more exhausting than working a miserable 9-to-5 grind. And then there was Chloe Simmons, an attention-seeking celebrity who only wanted to use me for clout. Way too loud. Stephanie Lane was gentle, sure, but her perfectly ordinary family background made her an easy target for vicious bullying in a wealthy, toxic household. I honestly couldn't be bothered to deal with that kind of exhausting high society drama. A brilliantly perfect plan instantly formed in my head. I stared at the four stunning women standing right in front of me, letting a perfectly calculated, helpless expression of pure bewilderment wash over my face. Who are you guys? I blinked my eyes, looking completely innocent and thoroughly confused. And who am I? The air in the room instantly froze solid. Four pairs of beautiful eyes widened all at once, totally filled with absolute mind-blowing shock. Vivian Vance knit her brows tightly together, her razor-sharp gaze piercing right through me, as if she were trying to drill a hole into my soul. Evan, what kind of sick game are you playing right now? Chloe Simmons even forgot to let her fake tears fall. Evan, please don't scare me like this. Do you seriously not recognize me anymore? It's me, Chloe. Stephanie Lane was the very first to snap out of the freezing shock. She immediately grabbed her penlight and quickly checked my eyes one more time, her professional expression growing dead serious. The patient might have sustained a severe head injury from the brutal impact, leading to temporary amnesia. I gave her a massive, silent thumbs up in my mind. Talk about a flawless assist. Amnesia it is, baby. Vivian Vance let out an icy, mocking scoff, aggressively crossing her arms. This kind of cheap, cliched plot from a third-rate TV drama. Do you really think I'd ever buy it? I paid that ice queen absolutely zero attention, instead looking timidly at Stephanie Lane like a terrified little animal. Doctor, I really can't remember a single thing. My head just hurt so incredibly bad. I desperately clutched my head, pulling off a flawless, award-winning job of faking intense agony. Clara Frost finally couldn't hold back and bravely stepped right forward, speaking out in a soft, incredibly gentle voice. Please stop pressuring him. He looks like he's really hurting. Doctor, is he truly suffering from amnesia? Her voice was so soft and sweet, just like cotton candy, instantly putting my anxious mind completely at ease. Stephanie Lane nodded solemnly like a true professional, judging entirely by his physiological responses. He absolutely doesn't seem to be faking this. We'll definitely need a highly comprehensive brain scan to know the exact detailed situation. Vivian Vance desperately wanted to snap something more at me, but looking closely at my deathly pale face and genuinely pained expression, she ultimately swallowed her harsh words right back down. Meanwhile, the sneaky Chloe Simmons had already caught onto a brand new, explosive angle for some major media hype. She immediately whipped out her smartphone, seemingly texting her manager, while a faint, wildly subtle smile passed over her glossy lips. Perfect. Absolutely. Everything was going exactly according to my master plan. This fake amnesia was the ultimate foolproof weapon to completely sever all toxic ties with past troubles and officially kickstart my glorious life of early retirement. Looking at how every single one of them harbored their own selfish, hidden agendas. And I, as the only mastermind who possessed all the actual facts, quietly enjoyed this grand, hilarious drama that belonged entirely to me. This feeling was just so damn liberating. Well, since he has amnesia, then I will absolutely stay behind to personally take care of him tonight. Chloe Simmons was the very first to shamelessly claim the upper hand. Putting on the arrogant airs of an official girlfriend, Vivian Vance instantly shot her a deadly cold glance. You actually know how to take care of someone? It'll be an absolute miracle if you don't annoy him straight to death. I'll stay. President Vance, you're a high-powered CEO who deals with 1,000 different matters a day. Isn't staying right here a complete waste of your immense talents? Besides, weren't you the one who brutally despised Evan the most? Chloe countered sarcastically, dripping with venom. I am his official fiancée. Taking care of him is strictly my responsibility. Vivian arrogantly brought up her elite status. Fiancé? Chloe laughed loudly and exaggeratingly. Just a so-called fiancé whose doomed engagement is about to be called off anyway. Who doesn't know that open secret? The two fiercely went toe-to-toe, the heavy tension thick with a strong scent of explosive gunpowder. Stephanie Lane frantically tried to mediate from the sidelines. Both of you, please. The poor patient desperately needs to rest. You'll seriously affect his fragile recovery if you keep acting exactly like this. I lay still on the hospital bed with my eyes shut tight, pretending to be incredibly weak. But deep down, my heart was bursting with absolute, undeniable joy. Fight, fight. The fiercer the better. That way, absolutely none of you will have any time to bother me. Just then, a timid, trembling voice suddenly rang out. How about I stay? It was Clara Frost. Everyone's fierce gaze instantly fixed right upon her. She nervously pinched the edge of her cute dress and said so softly, I can make some light, highly nutritious meals, and I also know a few basic nursing skills. I should be perfectly able to take really good care of him. Vivian Vance and Chloe Simmons knit their brows simultaneously, clearly not thinking much of this sweet little white rabbit who looked so completely, utterly harmless. Vivian harshly scrutinized her from head to toe. And who exactly are you? Before Clara could even squeak out a reply, I quickly spoke up first. I slowly fluttered my eyes open, my calculated gaze landing precisely on Clara with a brilliant hint of emotional dependence and deep familiarity. I whispered, I think I've seen you somewhere before. It was total BS, obviously, but I knew the fallout from those words would be absolutely nuclear. And sure enough, Clara just froze. Her pale face instantly flushed bright red, burning like a ripe apple, and the looks on the other three women's faces? Pure, spectacular entertainment. For the very first time, a visible crack fractured Vivian's icy demeanor. Her eyes were wide, with utter, absolute disbelief. Chloe's jaw dropped so low you could have shoved a whole egg in there. Even Stephanie's perfectly gentle doctor's smile completely froze. This was exactly the trap I wanted to set. I have amnesia, yet you're the only one I have a slight blurry memory of. What does that mean? It means that deep down in my subconscious, you are the most special person in the world. For any woman, this was an irresistible, absolute killer move. You remember me? Clara stammered, her eyes sparkling with a desperate glimmer of hope. Weakly, I shook my head, then gave a small nod. I don't really remember. I just feel like you're very familiar. You feel safe. As I whispered that, I shakily reached my hand out toward her, like a scared kid begging for protection. Clara's heart melted on the spot. She rushed to my bedside and gently wrapped both her hands around mine. Her hands were incredibly soft and so warm. Don't be afraid. I'll stay right here with you, she whispered, comforting me. I took the perfect chance to tighten my grip on her fingers. And then I shot a dark, provocative glare straight at Vivian Vance. Vivian's expression couldn't just be called unpleasant anymore. It was a brewing thunderstorm of rage. She stared dead at my hand, clutching Clara's. The look in her eyes was cold enough to freeze a man solid. She couldn't wrap her head around it. Why would a pathetic simp like me, who had chased her like a lost puppy for so long, choose someone else as the very first person to cling to after losing his memory? For a woman with her psychotic need for control, this absolute loss of power was the ultimate torture. And me? I just wanted to sit back and enjoy her mental breakdown. Unable to figure it out, yet completely unable to get rid of me. Chloe was absolutely furious too, but she was a smart player. She knew pushing it right now would only make me hate her. She stomped her foot and practically spit the words out. Since Evan chose you, then take good care of him. I'll come back to check on him tomorrow." With that, she angrily clicked away down the hall in her high heels. Vivian shot me this deep, piercing look. Her gaze was incredibly complex, a chaotic mix of blazing anger, utter confusion, and a tiny hint of hurt she hadn't even realized was there. "Get some rest." She dropped those 3 cold words and turned to leave as well. The hospital room finally fell dead silent. It was just me and Clara left, along with Stephanie Lane, who was just awkwardly standing there like background scenery. Stephanie glanced down at our intertwined hands, her eyes dimming for a split second before she snapped right back into her perfect professional doctor mode. "Miss Frost, I'll leave Mr. Green in your care. Then, if there are any issues at all, please feel free to press the call button." "All right, thank you, Dr. Lane," Clara replied politely, and after Stephanie walked out, the room sank into a heavy, intimate stillness. I could catch Clara's faint scent in the air, a delicate, sweet fragrance that smelled just like fresh gardenias. It was dangerously pleasant. I played the tired card and slowly closed my eyes, but my hand kept a firm grip on hers. I could feel her whole body stiffen slightly, but she didn't dare pull away. After a long while, I heard her speak in an incredibly low, trembling whisper, almost like she was talking to herself, but also desperately asking me, "Evan, do you really not remember me?" I didn't say a damn word. In my mind, I was smirking. The circus clowns had finally left the stage. Now, it was game time between the big bad hunter and the innocent little white rabbit. The next day, I went through the tedious discharge paperwork. Vivian Vance and Chloe Simmons showed up first thing in the morning, immediately getting into another vicious catfight over who got to take me home. Vivian demanded to take me back to the Vance estate. Her flawless logic? As my fiancé, she had an absolute duty to closely supervise me. Chloe fought to drag me back to her private villa, claiming she was the only one who could give me meticulous, round-the-clock care. I just watched them bicker, feeling like I was staring at 2 vain peacocks desperately flaunting their feathers. Noisy, pathetic, and utterly ridiculous. My attending physician, Stephanie Lane, finally stepped into the chaos. She handed me my discharge papers and gently chimed in, "Mr. Green, your body still needs proper rest. Honestly, it would be best for you to return to an environment you are already deeply familiar with. It really helps stimulate memory recovery." Boom. Another perfect assist. I immediately seized the golden excuse. Looking up at the 2 of them with wide, innocent, bewildered eyes, I mumbled, "I want to go home, my own home." Vivian and Chloe both choked on their words instantly. They both wanted to trap and control me on their own home turf, but the idiots completely forgot that I had over a dozen luxury mansions under my own name. "But what if you're all by yourself?" Clara chimed in, her voice laced with genuine concern. I snapped my gaze right to her. My tone dripped with total, helpless dependence. "Will you come home with me, please?" Clara's pale face instantly flushed beet red again. She subconsciously shot a nervous glance at Vivian, looking terrified and hesitant. I doubled down on my offensive, giving her the most pitiful, broken puppy dog look. "I don't know anyone else. I only trust you." Those soft words were definitely meant for Clara's ears, but they were a targeted, brutal strike meant for Vivian. Vivian's expression darkened into pure black malice. The air pressure in the room instantly dropped to a freezing, absolutely terrifying level. Clara's walls finally crumbled. Her heart softened, and with a timid nod, she whispered, "Okay, I'll go with you." Ignoring the absolute daggers Vivian Vance and Chloe Simmons were shooting into my back, I gently grabbed Clara's hand and slipped right into the waiting Rolls-Royce Phantom. Standing by the door was an older butler, sharp in a crisp tuxedo, without a single gray hair out of place. "Welcome home, young master." The old butler, Uncle Jang, respectfully pulled the heavy car door open for me. He was a seasoned veteran of the Green family, and hands down the most fiercely loyal subordinate the original host had in the entire novel. With a guy like him on my side, my master plan for kicking back and retiring early was already halfway in the bag. "Uncle Jang," I said as I slid into the rich leather seat, looking him dead in the eye, "starting today, I am giving you complete control over all my affairs. I am completely drained and just need some serious downtime." Uncle Jang froze for a split second, then let out a warm, knowing smile. "Right away, young master. I completely understand." And of course, the old man absolutely got it. The original host used to be an exhausting, hyperactive idiot who stirred up massive trouble every single day, constantly leaving Uncle Jang to sweep up his catastrophic messes. Now, my perfectly played amnesiac self just wanted to lie back, do absolutely nothing, and hand the reins completely over. Honestly, it was a massive relief for him. He just had to steer the ship in the right direction. Seriously, this was about to be the easiest gig in the entire world. The Phantom glided smoothly toward the massive green estate. Sitting beside me, Clara Frost fidgeted, looking completely on edge. Evan, do you really not remember a single thing? Not even your own home? I slowly shook my head, turned to look deep into her eyes, and asked with deadpan seriousness, "Hey, what exactly is your name again?" "I'm Clara. Clara Frost." "Clara," I softly repeated, letting the name roll off my tongue before flashing a gentle smile. "That's a truly beautiful name." A deep, rosy blush immediately rushed to Clara's cheeks, and she shyly bowed her head. I let the silence hang and closed my eyes to rest, but my brain was already working overtime, mapping out the ultimate early retirement blueprint. First up, fixing my fitness routine. It would be an absolute tragedy to lose the original host's chiseled six-pack abs and V-tapered physique. Next up, securing top-tier gourmet food. I made a mental note to devour every single dish from China's 8 great culinary traditions, and obviously, I needed to lock down the finest alcohol. I remembered the novel mentioning that the filthy rich Green family actually owned a private winery, purely dedicated to brewing premium Chinese liquors like yellow wine, rice wine, and high-end grape wine. Honestly, I couldn't care less about that sour, bitter grape garbage. As for female companionship, I casually stole a glance at Clara sitting beside me. She was drop-dead, gorgeous, incredibly gentle, came from a spotless family background, and wielded a heavy-hitting family status that could easily shield me from a mountain of headaches. But most importantly, she was super sweet and wouldn't nag me to death. She was, without a single doubt, the absolute perfect companion for my lazy, early retirement lifestyle. The car finally rolled into a sprawling, jaw-dropping estate, parking right in front of a literal castle. "So, this ridiculously huge place is my home." I gently guided Clara out of the car. Uncle Jang was already 2 steps ahead of us. "Young master, your master's suite has been completely rearranged exactly to your liking. And this must be Miss Frost? Her guest room is fully prepared as well." I firmly grabbed Clara's hand and looked straight at Uncle Jang. "Cancel the guest room. She is staying in my room." Hearing that right in front of Uncle Jang, Clara's entire face burned beet red as she frantically stammered, "No, no, no, that definitely won't work. We can't just—" I cut her off, staring at her with the most pitiful, innocent puppy dog eyes I could muster. "Why won't it work? I get so terrified sleeping all by myself. Didn't you promise you would stay right by my side?" I ruthlessly weaponized the vulnerability of a scared amnesiac, milking it for absolutely everything it was worth. My shameless guilt trip left Clara totally speechless, her delicate little face flashing from bright red to pale white and right back to red again. Totally defeated, she eventually let out a tiny, soft squeak of agreement that sounded just like a buzzing mosquito. I smirked with total satisfaction. Boom. Handled. Right on cue, my phone started buzzing. Uncle Jang respectfully handed it over, and the caller ID flashed one toxic name: Vivian Vance. Without even blinking, I smashed the decline button and casually tossed the phone right back into Uncle Jang's hands. "Moving forward, block any and all numbers from people I don't recognize." "Understood, young master." Uncle Jang caught my drift perfectly. Meanwhile, sitting in another car just down the road, Vivian Vance sat frozen, listening to the cold, automated voice coming from her phone. "The number you have dialed is currently busy." Her knuckles turned bone white as she squeezed the steering wheel in a white-hot rage. She completely failed to understand how her perfect situation had so violently spiraled out of her control. The exact same man who used to pin her chat to the top of his phone and reply in mere seconds had literally just hit ignore and hung up on her. And as if that wasn't enough of a slap in the face, he had brazenly taken another woman straight back to his massive estate. A sickening wave of unprecedented panic and absolute fury gripped her chest. Back at the mansion, however, my glorious life of pure luxury had officially begun. Every single day, I slept in until I naturally woke up, hit the gym for a light pump, and leisurely strolled around the gorgeous grounds. Uncle Jang managed my every need with absolute, flawless precision. Breakfast was mouth-watering Cantonese dim sum. Lunch was spicy, authentic Sichuan cuisine, and dinner, always a spread of exquisite, high-end imperial delicacies. For afternoon tea, Uncle Jang would set up my absolute favorite, rich, home-brewed rice wine paired with a few perfectly crafted side dishes. I would just kick back in the garden pavilion and waste the entire afternoon away, doing absolutely nothing. Seriously, this kind of heavenly, stress-free existence, I honestly wouldn't trade it, even if somebody begged me to be the emperor. Clara was super tense and restrained at first, but day by day, she slowly started to drop her guard. She quickly realized that I genuinely didn't give a damn about anything complicated. I was perfectly content spending every single day eating, drinking, and living it up like a totally idle loafer. Let me tell you, this little freeloader had a surprising amount of charm. Whenever I hit the gym, she'd just rest her chin in her hands and watch me quietly from the sideline. Sometimes, when I knocked out sets of pull-ups way above the bar, flashing my V-line abs, her cheeks would secretly flush this deep, adorable red. And whenever I tasted fine dining, she'd lean in close, asking all these curious questions about the different flavor profiles. Her eyes were just completely wide with total admiration. When I poured myself a drink, she'd sit right across from me, totally captivated as I dropped lore and historical trivia about the wine. She kept getting more curious, and honestly, a lot closer. Evan, can I touch your abs? That afternoon, right after I crushed a set of heavy bench presses, sweat dripping down my sculpted chest, Clara shyly handed me a towel. Her sparkling eyes were glued to my core. She had finally built up the nerve to drop that exact question. I just smirked, grabbed her soft hand, and pressed it right against my stomach. Go ahead and check the results for yourself. She jumped like she just grabbed a live wire, her face instantly turning, burning red all the way to the tips of her ears. She could feel the rock-hard muscle and the burning heat radiating against her palm. Well, do I pass? I leaned in real close, dropping my voice to a whisper. Her poor brain had completely short-circuited. All she could do was nod like a total goofball, giving me this unbelievably pure, adorable reaction. My heart actually skipped a beat. She seriously deserved to be the female lead of this crazy novel. What an absolute flawless angel. Just as I was about to capitalize on the vibe and steal a quick kiss, the phone in my pocket started buzzing again. Uncle Jang was holding it for me. He glanced at the screen, walked over, and muttered, "Young master, it is Miss Vance. Ugh, Vivian Vance." Again. This woman had been acting completely psychotic lately, calling me 800 times a day. "Hang up," I said, waving him off impatiently. "Young master, Miss Vance said if you do not answer this time, she is coming over in person." "Let her come," I scoffed. I really wanted to see what kind of stunt she was trying to pull. Exactly 30 minutes later, a cherry-red Ferrari ripped an aggressive drift, whipping its tail before screeching to a halt right in front of the villa gates. Vivian stepped out in a sleek black outfit, her high heels clicking sharply against the pavement. She was radiating this massive, ridiculously overbearing aura as she marched inside. But the second she kicked the door open, she froze. She saw me and Clara. I had just stepped out of the shower, upper body totally bare, rocking nothing but a towel around my waist. Water was still dripping from my hair, while Clara stood there with a hairdryer, gently helping me dry it. The whole setup looked incredibly cozy and ridiculously intimate. Vivian's pupils instantly shrank to pinprick. That cold, untouchable self-restraint she always took so much pride in, it completely shattered into a million pieces right then and there. "Evan," she practically ground my name out through clenched teeth. "What the hell do you think you are doing?" I just shot her a lazy glance, purposefully nuzzling my head closer to Clara's neck, breathing in the sweet, intoxicating scent of gardenias on her skin. "Just what it looks like," I smirked. "Enjoying my life." Clara went completely stiff from my teasing. Her face blushed so violently it looked ready to bleed, and she awkwardly fumbled with the hairdryer. "Enjoying life?" Vivian let out a furious, bitter laugh. "Evan, do you have any idea that Zenith Tech, the company under your name, is on the brink of a hostile takeover? Your competitors have already driven the stock price down to the absolute gutter. If you do not do something right now, the company is going to change hands." I suddenly remembered this. Yeah, there was definitely a plot line like this in the original novel. It was one of Vivian's business rivals. The guy wanted to cripple the Vance family's empire by sniping Zenith Tech, just so he could flex in front of Vivian. The original host of this body had thrown himself into the ring to fight the guy off, only to get completely and utterly crushed. In the end, it was Vivian who had to swoop in and save his pathetic neck. It was the exact defining moment that made Vivian despise the original host even more. "So what?" I let out a loud yawn, looking like I couldn't care less. Vivian stared at me in utter, shell-shocked disbelief. "So what? That is your company, Evan, the company you built from scratch with your own blood, sweat, and tears." I just scoffed in my head. "That was the original host's blood and sweat, lady. What the hell does any of that have to do with me?" "Then just sell it," I fired back completely nonchalantly. Vivian trembled with absolute blinding rage. "You complete and total waste of space. Do you even realize how much grueling effort people poured into that company? And you are just tossing it away this easily? What else am I supposed to do?" I countered smoothly. "I have amnesia, remember? I do not know the first thing about running a business. Dealing with all that corporate headache sounds exhausting. Cashing out now so I can just coast through a life of total luxury? Honestly, doesn't that sound fantastic?" My bold declaration of early retirement completely and utterly nuked Vivian's mental defenses. She had always assumed that even though Evan was a spoiled brat, he at least gave a damn about the tech company he built with his own two hands. She came crashing in here today hoping to see me having a total meltdown so she could swoop in like a savior and make me grovel at her feet in gratitude. But never in her wildest dreams did she expect me to flip the script entirely. My move? I just straight up quit. You really are completely hopeless, she spat, pointing a shaking finger at me, literally too angry to speak. I couldn't even be bothered to deal with her, so I just waved at Uncle Jen, who was standing by. Uncle Jen, be a pal and show our guest out. If this Miss Vance ever comes knocking again, just block her at the door and tell her I haven't even gotten out of bed yet. Right away, young master. Evan, you get back here. Vivian clearly wanted to keep yelling, but I just took Clara's hand and strolled upstairs. Clara, let's go try that yellow wine Uncle Jang just brewed. Bang! A massive crash echoed from downstairs, sounding exactly like something expensive had just been smashed to pieces. I didn't even need to look to know that the great, untouchable CEO, Vivian Vance, was throwing an absolute tantrum. Absolutely wonderful. Watching these self-righteous clowns drive themselves crazy just because I refused to play by their rules. Watching them completely break down. Honestly, this brought me way more pleasure than any corporate victory ever could. After Vivian was driven away by my little antics, she actually didn't come back to bother me. However, the whole crisis surrounding Zenith Tech was exploding all over the financial news. The whole world was just sitting back, waiting to watch the Green family fail, waiting to see exactly how an amnesiac spendthrift like me would squander the entire family fortune. And Vivian? She was waiting too. She was waiting for me to completely run out of options and come crawling back to beg her. Unfortunately for her, I was about to be a major disappointment. I just kept spending my days eating, drinking, and living my best life. I even started a new social media account. The handle was simple, Evan Green. Has he gotten out of bed today? The daily status update was literally just a single picture, just random scenery from different angles around the estate, and the caption was always the same. The weather is nice, perfect for an early retirement. At first, the internet was relentlessly mocking me. The Green family is totally finished with this spendthrift in charge, and he's still in the mood to post scenery. Zenith Tech is about to go bankrupt, and he's just relaxing. Verified, the most detached trust fund kid in all of history. But 3 days later, a massive piece of breaking news exploded across the entire business world. Zenith Tech mounts a stunning counterattack. Core technology achieves breakthrough progress. Stock prices skyrocket 300% overnight. Mysterious buyer seeks to acquire Zenith Tech at a premium price, but gets flatly rejected by Chairman Evan Green. Quote, too lazy to negotiate, not selling for any amount of money. According to an inside source, Chairman Evan Green never even showed his face throughout the entire process, only issuing casual directives through his assistant, strategizing and securing an absolute victory from miles away. As soon as the news broke, everyone was completely dumbfounded. The faces of all those losers waiting to laugh at me were slapped completely swollen, especially Vivian Vance. I could only imagine what a spectacularly ugly expression would pop up on that icy face when she saw the headlines. That evening, Uncle Jang came to give me his report. Young master, everything has been settled exactly according to your instructions. I was laying back on a lounge chair by the swimming pool, sipping an iced sour plum drink. Literally too lazy to even open my eyes. That so-called technological breakthrough, it was nothing more than me pulling a piece of tech knowledge from my head that was 10 years ahead of this world, randomly scribbling a concept on paper and tossing it to Zenith Tech's R&D department. And that so-called brilliant strategizing, it was literally just a single sentence I dropped to Uncle Jang. Take that guy who wants to buy us out and bankrupt him for me. Uncle Jen's execution capability never disappointed. He completely mobilized the Green family's massive, hidden underground network. In just a single afternoon, he caused that arrogant competitor who didn't know his place to suffer a total collapse of his capital chain, forcing him into immediate bankruptcy, a brutal warning to all the rest. From then on, absolutely no one ever dared to target Zenith Tech again, and all I had to do was lie back and enjoy the sweet fruits of victory. Man, this feeling of winning while doing absolutely nothing was just too damn liberating. My social media account also completely exploded with popularity overnight because of this. Evan Green didn't get out of bed today either. That topic actually surged straight to the #1 spot on the trending list. My follower count skyrocketed from a measly few hundred to several million. And the comment section? It suddenly changed its tone entirely. Holy crap, what kind of god-tier boss is this? Bankrupting his rival while literally resting in bed. This is the true definition of a dominant CEO. Just giving orders is enough, no need to even lift a finger himself. Hubby, Do you still need a human accessory? The kind that can give massages and warm the bed. Hubby, look at me. Do I still have a chance? Clara held the phone, reading the wild comments to me one by one, laughing so hard she was rocking back and forth. Evan, you're just so incredibly popular right now. Her big, bright eyes curved into happy crescent moons. What's the use of all that? It can't exactly put food on the table, I said lazily. Clara, I'm starving. I really want to eat that osmanthus cake you make. Okay, I'll go make it for you right away. She immediately dropped her phone and sprinted toward the kitchen like a cheerful little rabbit. I watched her walk away, and the smirk on my face just kept growing wider. Unlimited wealth, endless free time, killer looks, a shredded physique, and a sweet, absolutely gorgeous girl cooking up 5-star meals right by my side. Honestly, this early retirement life was absolute perfection. But just then, my phone buzzed again. I lazily picked it up to check. It was a text message from an unknown number. This is Vivian Vance. It's Vivian. Can we please meet up? Her tone was surprisingly polite, even carrying a desperate hint of pleading. I just raised an eyebrow and tapped out a quick, 2-word reply. Not free. Then I powered off the phone and casually tossed it aside. If she wanted to see me so badly, what the hell was she doing all this time before? Oh, how the tables turn. Now she was the one begging me, not the other way around. Seeing me? Yeah, that depends entirely on my mood. It depends completely on how comfortably I want to lounge around today. I shot Vivian down hard, but clearly the woman didn't know when to quit. The very next day, a fancy, gold-embossed invitation arrived at the estate. It was for a massive corporate charity gala hosted by the Vance Group, and it specifically requested my presence by name. The messenger claimed that all the heavy hitters from politics and business would be attending this gala, and that it would be super helpful for my quote-unquote future networking. Uncle Jiang just respectfully handed the shiny invitation over to me. Networking? I scoffed. Do I even need to bother with that kind of garbage? What use is schmoozing to a guy like me? So-called networking just boils down to whether other people need something from me or not. As long as I hold the absolute power, they'll naturally swarm around me like flies to honey anyway. Not going. I waved my hand dismissively, fully preparing to get right back to my grand, noble cause of doing absolutely nothing. But just then, Clara spoke up timidly. The invitation says that 100% of the auction proceeds from this gala will be donated to the Starlight Orphanage. Starlight Orphanage? I totally froze for a split second. The original novel mentioned that despite Vivian's ice-cold, arrogant exterior, she secretly had a soft heart. She had been anonymously funding an orphanage this whole time. And it was this exact place, Starlight Orphanage. This was her ultimate weak spot, the softest piece of her heart, and her most closely guarded secret. Clara looked up at me, her big eyes shining with a hint of hopeful anticipation. I actually used to volunteer at that exact orphanage. The kids there are so incredibly sweet, but their living conditions are just so harsh. Looking deep into her clear, innocent eyes, something inside my chest stirred. Fine, I'd go to the gala, not to give Vivian any face, obviously, but because this was the absolute perfect chance to score some major points with Clara. Plus, it would brutally force Vivian to realize that she had completely and utterly lost me forever. Well, since our sweet Clara has spoken up, then I guess we're going. I gently pinched her soft cheek and teased affectionately. Clara's face instantly flushed a deep tomato red, and she protested softly. Please, don't call me that so casually. Then what should I call you? Mr. Green sounds way too stiff and formal, don't you think? I shook my head, playfully dissatisfied. From now on, just call me Evan. Evan. Her voice was as impossibly faint as a buzzing mosquito. I smiled, completely satisfied. On the night of the gala, I stepped out looking incredibly sharp in a top-tier, custom Armani suit, while Clara wore a stunning, moonlight-colored gown. The dress made her look like a literal fairy bathed in moonlight, an ethereal goddess completely detached from the dirty mortal world. The absolute second we stepped through those doors, all eyes locked onto us. We were the undisputed center of attention. The man? Flawlessly handsome. The woman? Exquisitely beautiful. Standing there side by side, we looked like the ultimate power couple, a literal match made in heaven. Countless gazes swept over us, heavy with admiration, burning jealousy, and wild curiosity. But the most intense, scorching glare of all came from the banquet's host, Vivian Vance. Tonight, she was dressed in a striking, strapless black evening gown. She looked undeniably noble and glamorous, exactly like a dangerous black rose covered in sharp thorns. But the moment she saw me so casually holding Clara's hand as we strolled in, the fingers gripping her expensive wine glass trembled just the slightest bit. Swallowing her pride, she forced herself to walk over calmly, pasting a perfectly polite, stiff, businesslike smile onto her face. Evan, you made it. And this is? Her sharp gaze landed squarely on Clara, dripping with icy scrutiny and barely hidden hostility. I completely ignored her existence. Instead, I lowered my head, asking Clara in the gentlest, warmest tone possible. Are you tired, babe? Do you want to grab a quick bite to eat first? Clara looked a bit overwhelmed by the tension, whispering softly, I'm not really hungry. Then let's go get you some juice. I smoothly pulled her along, walking straight past Vivian and heading right for the buffet area, leaving the arrogant CEO completely stranded and humiliated on the spot. I was openly, ruthlessly playing favorites. And let me tell you, this was exactly the devastating effect I wanted. I wanted every single person in that room to see the truth. In my heart, Clara was entirely one of a kind, while you, Vivian Vance, you were nothing more than a totally irrelevant bystander. Vivian's face instantly drained of all color, turning deathly pale. The surrounding high society guests quickly caught on to the suffocating tension, and the juicy whispers began to spread like wildfire. Wait, isn't that young Master Green, President Vance's fiancé? Why the hell did he bring a totally different woman to her event? Oh, you haven't heard? I heard the young master got amnesia a while back, and now he doesn't recognize a single soul, except for that new girl. No way, for real? Man, this wealthy family drama is insane. The water runs so deep, every single one of these gossiping whispers felt like a poisoned needle stabbing directly into Vivian's fragile ego. She clenched her fists so furiously that her perfectly manicured fingernails dug painfully into her own palms. She just couldn't wrap her head around why things had spiraled so horribly out of control. She was supposed to be his fiancé. He was supposed to be the pathetic simp who blindly worshipped the ground she walked on. How could one little car crash flip my entire world upside down? Anyway, the main event of tonight's gala was the charity auction. I couldn't care less about the first few items until the host brought out a specific painting. Next up is this gorgeous piece, he announced. An oil painting titled Starry Sky, painted by the kids over at the Starlight Orphanage. The starting bid is $10,000, and all proceeds go straight to renovating their building. Instantly, I saw Vivian's eyes completely light up. She was dead set on getting her hands on that canvas. $100,000. A rich businessman raised his paddle. $200,000. Another guy jumped in right away, and the price just kept skyrocketing. But Vivian, she hadn't made a single move yet. Classic move. She was waiting for the hype to die down so she could swoop in and snipe it with one final bid. When the price hit $500,000, the room finally went quiet. The corners of Vivian's mouth curled up into this arrogant, super confident smirk. And right as she was about to raise her paddle, I beat her to the punch. I lazily held up my sign. $5 million. The entire venue went dead silent. People stared at me like I was an absolute lunatic. I mean, dropping $5 million on a kid's finger painting? They were probably thinking, did young Master Green just get a totally new personality after his amnesia? Or did he completely lose his damn mind? The host was totally speechless, stammering into the mic. $5 million? Mr. Green? Are you sure you meant $5 million? Yep, I nodded. Then I turned to Clara, sitting right beside me. Didn't you say you adored those kids? Let's grab this painting and hang it up in our bedroom. Okay. She smiled. My voice wasn't loud, but in that pin-drop silence, it echoed for the whole room to hear. Those two words, our bedroom, dropped like a 10-ton sledgehammer, smashing right into Vivian's fragile ego. Instantly, all the color drained from her face. It finally clicked for her. I wasn't just outbidding her, I was completely humiliating her. I took the one thing she desperately wanted and used it to spoil another woman, right in front of high society. I was crowning Clara as the new lady of my house while stomping Vivian's pride right into the dirt. $5 million going once, $5 million going twice. Sold. And with the sharp crack of the gavel, this whole glorious farce came to a perfect end. Seeing Vivian looking so utterly crushed and devastated, honestly, I didn't feel an ounce of pity. Just pure, unfiltered satisfaction. You treated me like garbage back then, but now, I'm standing way out of your miserable league. Consider that the first little chunk of interest I collected for the original host's suffering. After the gala wrapped up, Clara and I headed out. But down in the parking garage, someone blocked our path. It was Vivian Vance. She had definitely been knocking back a few drinks. Her cheeks were flush, eyes totally glazed over. Her usual icy, untouchable rich girl vibe completely shattered. Evan, Why are you doing this to me? She stood right in front of my ride, her voice trembling with this pathetic little sob. I frowned, instinctively pulling Clara behind my back to shield her. Miss Vance, step aside. No, I won't, she cried, glaring at me stubbornly. Tell me why. Is it just because I was cold to you before? I can change. Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. Just come back to me. Please, I smirked, looking at her like she was the punchline of a terrible joke. Come back to you, Vivian Vance? Are you seriously delusional? Aside from a piece of paper that I can shred whenever I want. What exactly are we to each other? We have a bond, she pleaded desperately. We grew up together. We've known each other since we were kids. Yeah? Well, I know a lot of people from kindergarten. I snapped, cutting her off cold. So who the hell do you think you are? Those words were absolutely brutal, stabbing into her chest like an ice pick. She swayed on her heels, barely able to keep her balance. Evan, how can you treat me like this? Massive, pathetic tears streamed down her face. Honestly, that crying, broken look of hers was probably enough to melt any normal guy's heart. Too bad for her. I wasn't some average simp. I was a transmigrator who had read the damn script, and all I wanted was to live a chill, luxurious life. I couldn't care less about her crocodile tears or her fake little act. Just then, from the dark shadows of the parking garage, a bunch of goons armed with metal pipes rushed us, looking absolutely furious. One look and you knew things were about to get violently ugly. Vivian Vance, you drove our boss into bankruptcy. Today, we're making you pay in blood. The scarred-faced thug leading the pack screamed at the top of his lungs. I pieced it together in a split second. These goons were hired by that idiot who tried to buy out Zenith Tech, the same guy I forced into bankruptcy. They didn't have the guts to mess with me, so they went after Vivian instead. Vivian was scared out of her damn mind. Her face turned ghost white as she watched this mob of thugs charging right at her. Clara was even more terrified, letting out a shriek and burying her face into my chest. Now, according to the novel's original plot, this was the classic hero saves the beauty moment. The original host stood right here, took a brutal beating to protect Vivian, and ended up with a shattered leg just to earn a tiny scrap of her affection. But as for me, I just grabbed Clara and took a few big steps back. Are you freaking kidding me? Like hell, I'm letting my precious body get bruised up. Doing the dirty work and fighting was meant for the hired help. Uncle Jang, I called out lazily. Before my words even echoed away, 7 or 8 elite bodyguards in black suits materialized out of thin air like literal ghosts. They flashed out from the shadows like ghosts, instantly surrounding those street thugs. In no time flat, those punks were beaten into the dirt, bawling and crying out for their mommies. The whole thing didn't even take 30 seconds. I didn't so much as bat an eyelash, while Scarface got pinned hard under my bodyguard's heavy boot. Yet, the idiot still bellowed at me defiantly. Evan Green, what kind of man are you, huh? Hiding behind a woman and your little bodyguards. I casually strolled over, squatted down, and gave his cheek a mocking pat. A brain is a wonderful thing to have. Too bad you don't have one. I stood back up, looking down at him like he was absolute trash. If a problem can be solved with cold, hard cash and hired muscle, why on earth would I dirty my own fists? That's something only a total moron would do. With that, I completely tuned them out, pulling Clara along as we got ready to hop into the car. Wait, Vivian Vance suddenly called out to me. She just stood there completely blank, staring at the groaning thugs scattered across the pavement. She looked at my elite squad of bodyguards, her eyes brimming with absolute shock and bewilderment. She had always assumed I, Evan Green, was just some spoiled rich brat who only knew how to burn through cash. She had absolutely no idea. She never knew I commanded such a fiercely powerful security force. And she certainly never knew that when a crisis hit, I could be this ice cold and utterly detached. That chilling detachment made her heart panic way more than any furious shouting or bitter accusations ever could. Thank you. For just now, she whispered in a terribly low voice. I wasn't saving you, I corrected her with a completely freezing tone. I just didn't want my ride getting stained by your cheap blood. I pointed straight at my $10 million Bugatti Veyron. Vivian followed my finger, the last bits of color completely draining from her pale face. I pulled open the heavy car door, let Clara slide in first, and then settled into the luxury leather myself. The engine roared to life, and the car sped off, kicking up a massive cloud of dust, leaving Vivian standing entirely by herself in that empty, lifeless parking lot. The cold night wind blew past, making her trailing dress look incredibly desolate and downright wretched. Inside the quiet cabin of the car, Clara was still shaking off a lingering fear, her soft hands clutching my arm super tightly. Evan, that was so incredibly close back there. I pulled her warm body into my embrace, gently patting her back. Don't be scared, baby. With me around, I won't let you get hurt even a tiny bit. She snuggled deep into my chest like a little kitten desperately seeking safety. Evan, you're so amazing to me. I lowered my head and planted a soft kiss on her forehead. You silly girl. Glancing up through the rearview mirror, I could see Vivian's lonely figure shrinking smaller and smaller in the distance. I knew for an absolute fact that, starting tonight, that woman's heart was thrown into a complete and utter mess. When a woman grows fiercely curious about a man, that is the exact moment her downfall begins. And trust me, I was going to make her sink deeper and deeper into her own burning curiosity and bitter regret, right until she crossed the point of no return. After the massive drama at the gala wrapped up, my personal life went straight back to its perfectly peaceful state. But out there, the outside world was thrown into a completely massive uproar, all because of me. The headline "Evan Green didn't get out of bed today" either was trending like crazy, and the wild popularity of that topic just stayed incredibly high without dropping an inch. Millions of curious people flooded into my social media accounts just to watch, and what they discovered was that my daily life was literally the ultimate paradise of their wildest dream. Waking up late in the morning on a gigantic, several hundred square meter luxury bed, and then working up a solid sweat in my private mega gym before noon, my shiny six-pack glistening in the light. Come noon, a world-class top chef would serve up a jaw-dropping, state banquet-level lunch feast, followed by a lazy afternoon walking my dogs around my 1,000-acre private estate, casually tasting vintage wine while watching a gorgeous sunset. And at night, stargazing cuddled up with my stunning, fairy-like girlfriend. No brutal work schedules, no exhausting worries, no corporate KPI targets to hit. Just pure, unadulterated enjoyment. Endless, limitless enjoyment. The comments were hilarious. Now this is what life is actually supposed to be. I'm out here living like a literal pack mule. I am so insanely jealous. I admit it, I'm jealous today. I'm just a total sour grape right now, man. We are both human beings. Why is the gap in our lives so insanely massive? I'm literally out here squeezing onto a packed morning rush hour subway, while this guy has already made hundreds of millions just lying flat on his back. Young Master Green, please tell me, does your giant mansion still need a watchdog? The kind with a 4-year college degree. Honestly, my chill, early retirement philosophy had unexpectedly ended up sparking a massive new social trend. Countless burnt-out young people suddenly began to deeply reflect on their own miserable lives, starting to pursue a much more relaxed and totally self-oriented state of living. And wildly enough, even the major stock price of the Green Group, purely fueled by the undeniable personal charm of me, the famously early retired chairman, just kept rocketing all the way up to the moon. I guess this was just a classic case of completely unintentional actions yielding massive success. But frankly, I didn't care about the corporate noise at all. What I actually cared way more about was what kind of mouth-watering food Clara was busy making for me today. Evan, come over here quickly and try this Buddha jumps over the wall soup I just finally learned how to make. Clara, wearing a super cute little apron, carefully carried out an exquisite clay pot. She happily jogged out from the kitchen, handing it over to me as if she were presenting some incredibly rare treasure. I smiled and took a slow sip. The warm broth was impossibly rich and just incredibly savory. Wow, this is totally delicious. I praised her genuinely from the very bottom of my heart. Instantly, her bright eyes curved up into a massive, beaming smile. She looked even sweeter than the glowing moon up in the night sky. Honestly, every single day spent with this girl was just completely filled with this exact kind of simple, incredibly heartwarming sweetness. She would happily buzz around the house for an entire day just because of a single, casual compliment from me. And whenever I was working out, she'd always secretly reach out to trace my abs, only to suddenly snatch her hand back fast, blushing red like she had just touched a burning hot stove. Whenever loud, thunderous thunderstorms rolled in, she would get so terrified, pulling back the thick covers just to wrap me up completely inside, holding on to me so incredibly tight. She was like my own personal little sun, so deeply warm and radiantly bright, making a total lazy drifter like me, who honestly only wanted to kick back and do nothing, finally feel a real sense of heartwarming, grounding comfort in this chaotic mortal world. The affection between us heated up incredibly fast, fueled entirely by all of those sweet, everyday little trivialities. But all of this was being closely witnessed by someone else. Vivian Vance didn't dare come looking for me in person again, but she obsessively kept tabs on my every move from the shadows. She actually registered a secret burner account and practically became the #1 superfan stalking my social media page. With every single photo I posted, she would zoom in closely, obsessively dissecting every little detail. If she spotted me out tasting wine in the garden, she'd immediately hunt down the exact vintage and origin of that specific bottle. Whenever she saw the amazing home-cooked meals Clara made for me, she tried desperately to master the recipe for that exact dish. And when she saw photos of our dog and cat snuggling intimately together, she'd just stare at her screen, her eyes dimming with a long, dull ache of regret. She was acting like a total voyeur, greedily and desperately spying on the exact happiness that used to belong entirely to her. Then, in the quiet, utterly lonely dead hours of the night, she was left to choke down the bitter, burning fruits of her own jealousy and massive regret all by herself. She even started desperately trying to imitate Clara. She actually ditched the stiff black suits she always wore, swapping them out for soft, gentle dresses. She tried putting away her trademark icy expression, forcing herself to desperately figure out how to give a genuine smile. She even bought a bunch of cute little trinkets and stuffed them right into her cold, minimalist office, where they stuck out like a completely sore thumb. She honestly believed that if she just cloned Clara's vibe, she could somehow magically win my heart back. What an absolutely, utterly ridiculous joke. She completely missed the point and didn't understand at all that what I fell for was never just Clara's gentle nature. It was Clara herself. She was completely one of a kind. Any clumsy, desperate attempt to copy her just came across as a pathetic, cheap knockoff. It was completely ludicrous and incredibly laughable. Uncle Jane caught wind of all this nonsense and reported it back to me like it was the punchline of a hilarious joke. Young master. Miss Vance actually showed up to the office wearing a floral dress today. It completely scared the absolute living daylights out of her poor subordinates. I was currently busy enjoying Clara, hand-feeding me snacks, honestly way too relaxed and lazy to even care or drop a comment. She also went and bought a ragdoll cat that looks exactly like the sweet one Miss Frost keeps. But the poor thing wouldn't even let her hold it, ended up giving her a nasty scratch right on the arm. Crazy, right? Young master, do you seriously think this Miss Vance has finally gone completely mad? I casually swallowed the delicious shrimp dumpling in my mouth, wiped my lips, and said in a totally deadpan voice, "Just let her be. An irrelevant person like her is simply not worth wasting a single second of our precious time on." Yeah, completely irrelevant. From the exact moment she chose to look down on me back then, treating me like utter dirt, her fate was permanently sealed with a death sentence in my book. Everything happening to her right now was just me flawlessly executing a long, slow, and deliciously agonizing torture. But our peaceful days didn't last very long at all before chaos struck again. This time around, the massive headache came straight from Chloe Simmons. This A-list celebrity had gotten a real taste of the viral fame from the whole amnesiac boyfriend drama, and she was absolutely having a blast, milking it for all the media hype it was worth. Every couple of days, she deliberately posts some super vague, overly dramatic text on Twitter. "The weather is so lovely today. It really makes me think of a certain silly guy. I honestly wonder if you're doing well right now. Some people, even if they completely forget me, will be forever engraved in my breaking heart." She'd pair that absolute garbage with a few selfies showing off her red, teary eyes, effortlessly baiting deep sympathy from her countless millions of clueless fans. Trending topics like "See Chloe Simmons, Heartbreak," and "Feel Bad for Chloe Simmons" constantly took turns dominating the trending charts. Her PR team went even harder, paying off countless gossip accounts to wildly romanticize the deep, tragic, and incredibly passionate romance between her and me, completely spinning her image into a highly devoted, deeply affectionate woman who was cruelly abandoned by her amnesiac scumbag boyfriend. For a solid minute, public opinion really started to shift against me. Hordes of completely clueless netizens started aggressively swarming my social media pages just to flame me into the ground. "You total scumbag. Chloe was so incredibly good to you. Just because you magically have amnesia, you think you can dodge accountability? Forgetting your true old love the literal second you find a shiny new fling. Men really are pure unadulterated trash, aren't they? And here I honestly thought you were some god-tier boss. Turns out you're just complete garbage who ruthlessly ditches the old for the new." When Clara saw that highly toxic comment section, her sweet, fair face flushed bright red with total fury. How can they even say those awful things? You aren't that kind of horrible person at all. She immediately jumped to defend me, acting like a fierce mother hen aggressively protecting her favorite chick. I playfully pinched her little nose and gave her a warm, reassuring smile. "Hey, don't get so incredibly angry. Why lower yourself to the level of a bunch of brainless internet trolls? But the stuff they're writing is just way too horrible," she insisted. "You can't control what other people say," I replied, "so just let them run their mouths." I brushed it off with a totally blank and completely indifferent look. This pathetic level of coordinated cyberbullying was honestly no worse than a light passing tickle to a guy like me. But my sweet Clara cared immensely. She just couldn't stand by and bear to watch me get massively misunderstood and horribly insulted by thousands of vicious strangers. That very same night, while I was dead to the world and fast asleep, she sneakily logged right into my social media account and uploaded a picture straight to my main feed. The beautiful photo proudly showed our two hands tightly intertwined together, my hand with its strong, slender, and powerful knuckles, holding securely onto her fair, delicate, and beautifully elegant hand, and on both of our hands sat a matching pair of gleaming, classic Cartier wedding bands. The caption only had one single, incredibly powerful sentence: my one and only, Clara Frost. She didn't hold back. She even tagged her own account. It was a massive, unapologetic public announcement of our relationship. Dropping at midnight, that status update hit like a nuclear bomb, completely blowing up the internet. The servers even crashed for a solid hour. Evan Green and Clara Frost are official. Evan Green's one and only. Chloe Simmons is an absolute clown. Those three topics shot up the trending list at rocket speed, totally dominating the top 3 spots. The netizens who were just roasting me completely flipped their script. Holy crap, the man himself stepped up. So this is the real girlfriend. I knew it. Young Master Green bagged an absolute goddess. Why would he ever look twice at some basic starlet? Clara Frost is drop dead, gorgeous, and so classy. So Chloe Simmons was just making up her own delusions this whole time? Oh my God, what a total drama queen. I feel so bad for Evan and Clara getting dragged into that toxic actress's clout-chasing stunts for so long. Am I the only one looking at those rings? Those are limited edition Cartier pieces. That means eternal love. I am totally shipping these two. The trending tags that Chloe's team had spent tens of millions to buy were effortlessly crushed by a single photo from Clara. Overnight, Chloe became the laughingstock of the entire internet. Does your face hurt from that slap? Hey, Chloe, stop acting. It's just embarrassing to watch at this point. Please just leave young Master Green alone. The man is taken. Chloe's comment section completely imploded. When I woke up the next morning, Clara was sitting by the bed, looking as anxious as a kid who had just broken a window. Evan, I'm so sorry. I didn't ask your permission before I pulled her right into my arms, gently kissing her hair. You silly girl. Why are you apologizing? You did amazing. But won't this cause trouble for you? Trouble? I just smiled. The one thing I am absolutely never afraid of in this life is trouble. I picked up my phone, scrolling through the chaotic comments. My eyes instantly turned ice cold. That woman, Chloe Simmons, had been buzzing around like a pesky fly for way too long. It was time to shut her up for good. I made a quick call to Uncle Jang. Uncle Jang passed down the word. I want every platform, network, and production house tied to the Green Group to completely blacklist Chloe Simmons. Right away, young master. I was going to make damn sure she never saw the spotlight in the entertainment industry ever again. On the other end of the line, Uncle Jang's voice sounded almost excited. He understood perfectly. He had considered that clout-chasing actress a massive eyesore for a long time. Anyway, I hung up the phone and looked down at Clara, who was still trembling in my arms. I lowered my head and caught her lips. Stop worrying about all that nonsense. Let's do something a little more meaningful. The morning sunlight outside the window was absolutely perfect, while a certain little starlet's career was about to plunge into total darkness. This was the heavy price for provoking me. Chloe Simmons collapsed even faster than I could have imagined. Just one day after I gave the order, every single endorsement deal she was negotiating completely evaporated. Several TV shows and movies she had already signed dropped her like a bad habit, slapping her with astronomical cancellation fees. The variety shows that were currently airing scrambled to edit her scene completely out overnight, as if she had never even existed. Major award galas and high-fashion events instantly crossed her name right off their VIP lists. In just 3 days, a highly sought-after, top-tier celebrity became a complete pariah, totally shunned by everyone. She completely vanished from the entertainment industry. This was the absolute power of capital, and I was the capital. She refused to accept it. She tried to come crawling back to beg me, but she couldn't even get past the front gates of the Green Estate. She called me, and I instantly blocked her. She even tracked down Vivian Vance, desperately hoping Vivian would step in and save her skin. But in the end, Vivian just gave her a freezing cold stare. You brought this on yourself. When a wall starts to fall, everyone lines up to give it a shove. That was just reality. With that little nuisance out of the picture, my life went right back into peaceful, early retirement mode. And thanks to that very public announcement, the romance between Clara and me definitely leveled up. She wasn't nearly as shy anymore, and honestly, she started proactively taking advantage of me. Like, when I was trying to read a book, She'd just curl up in my lap like a little cat, her small hands restlessly tracing circles right on my abs. Or when I was swimming, she'd suddenly hug me from behind, blowing warm air into my ear and whispering, "Evan, your body is so amazing." Or early in the morning, right in the kitchen, I'd pretend I couldn't fry an egg, just so she would wrap her arms around my waist from behind and guide my hands, step by step. Her warm breath would constantly brush against my neck, driving me absolutely crazy. This sweet girl, who used to be as pure as a blank sheet of paper, was slowly being completely corrupted by me, and I was loving every single second of it. Today was my birthday. Uncle Jang had decorated the entire estate like some crazy fairy tale world, getting ready to throw a massive party. But I completely shut it down. I just wanted to spend my birthday completely alone with Clara, leaving the rest of the world behind. That evening, she cooked up a massive feast with all my absolute favorite dishes, complete with a gorgeous, hand-decorated cake. "Happy birthday, Evan," she whispered as she lit the candles, her eyes sparkling like stars in the warm glow. "Make a wish." I closed my eyes and pressed my hands together. Honestly, I didn't have any massive, world-changing wishes. Everything I held in my hands right now was already way beyond my wildest dreams. But if I absolutely had to pick one, it would just be that these peaceful days of my early retirement could last for eternity. I opened my eyes and blew out the candles. Clara instantly held out a piece of cake right in front of me. "Hurry, taste it. I spent so long learning how to bake this." But just as I opened my mouth for a bite, she suddenly yanked the cake away. Instead, she leaned in, leaving a soft, fleeting kiss right on the corner of my lips. "You had a little frosting on you," she whispered, her cheeks flushing a deep red. I completely froze. My heart unhelpfully skipped a massive beat as I stared at her perfectly shy, yet totally mischievous little smirk. My Adam's apple bobbed as my self-control vanished. With a sudden tug, I pulled her tight into my arms, cupped the back of her head, and kissed her with everything I had. This wasn't some gentle, testing peck like before. Oh no. This kiss was loaded with raw aggression and deep, undeniable possessiveness. I parted her lips, claiming my territory and plundering absolutely every single drop of sweetness she had to offer. Clara was clumsy and unpracticed at first, but with my lead, it didn't take long for her to start kissing back with fierce passion. By the time we broke apart, she was totally limp against my chest, panting heavily with a misty, unfocused, and dangerously alluring look in her eyes. "Clara," I whispered right against her ear, my voice thick and completely raspy. "Please, don't leave tonight." I felt her entire body shiver before she buried her burning face deep in my chest, letting out a barely audible hum of agreement. Right at that exact second, brilliant fireworks suddenly exploded across the night sky outside our window. It was a surprise setup arranged by Uncle Jiang. The blinding, multicolored bursts illuminated the entire heavens, casting a beautiful glow over our tightly intertwined bodies. I scooped her right up into my arms and strode straight toward the bedroom. Tonight was definitely destined to be a totally sleepless night. Cue the absolute wedding night bliss. We can skip the next 10,000 words here, so feel free to fill in those spicy blanks yourselves. The very next day, I woke up feeling like a brand new man. Clara was still out cold, sleeping soundly in my arms with her long, beautiful eyelashes resting like two delicate little fans. She had this sweet, lingering smile on the corners of her lips. I gently lowered my head and pressed a soft kiss right onto her smooth forehead. Honestly, the feeling of finally making her mine was 100 times more incredible than I ever could have imagined. Suddenly, I totally understood why ancient emperors used to skip out on their morning court duties. A soft, gentle wonderland really is the ultimate grave for ambitious heroes. Those ancestors definitely weren't lying. But just as I was soaking in this rare, peaceful moment, my bedside phone started ringing at the absolute worst possible time. I grabbed it and checked the screen. It was Vivian Vance. This insane woman was seriously like a haunting ghost that just refused to go away. My first instinct was to just instantly hang up on her, but on second thought, an idea sparked in my head. I smashed the answer button and deliberately kicked it on speakerphone. "Hello," I muttered, my voice dripping with that raspy, lazy tone you only get right after waking up. "Evan?" On the other end of the line, Vivian's voice sounded super hesitant and visibly dripping with nervous tension. "Are you free today? I really want to talk to you." "Talk about what?" I fired back. "Talk about our future," she finally gathered the courage to say. Man, I almost burst out laughing right then and there. Our future? She actually had the nerve to say that. But before I could even spit out a response, Clara shifted against me, letting out the cutest little sleepy murmur. Evan, stop it," she mumbled, rolling over and wrapping her limbs around me like a clingy little octopus, her soft face nuzzling deep into my chest as she drifted off again. That tiny, incredibly intimate sound was broadcast crystal clear straight through the speakerphone, right to the other end of the line. Vivian's voice cut off instantly. The air in the room suddenly went completely, painfully dead silent. I didn't even need to see her to know that her face must have turned absolutely black with rage and shock in that exact moment. After a full 30 agonizing seconds, she finally managed to choke out a broken, trembling whisper. "Are you and her? You too?" Exactly what it sounded like, I replied flatly, letting a hint of cocky amusement bleed into my tone. My girlfriend was completely worn out last night, and she's still trying to get some sleep. I could hear heavy, rapid breathing tearing through the speaker, sounding exactly like a trapped beast on the total verge of suffocating. "President Vance," I said, abruptly dropping the warmth and switching to an ice-cold, formal business tone. "If this is about work, please schedule an appointment with my assistant. But if this is personal, then don't bother. My girl gets jealous pretty easily, and I really don't want her getting the wrong idea." With that final blow, I didn't give her a single second to respond and just brutally hung up the phone. Cutting the call short, the world was finally peaceful and quiet again. I looked back down at the beautiful woman sleeping in my arms. The smug, satisfied smirk on my lips just kept growing wider and wider by the second, because when it comes down to it, utterly destroying the heart is the ultimate revenge. And to deal with a woman like Vivian Vance, whose toxic pride was carved all the way down to her very bones. Absolutely nothing could shatter her will more than forcing her to hear the man she claimed to love, sharing such an intimate, fiercely tender moment with another woman. I wanted to drag her down into a suffocating pit of jealousy and regret. I wanted her to choke on it, completely denied any peace in life, and permanently denied the sweet release of death. Meanwhile, all the way over at the Vance Group headquarters, their high and mighty CEO, Vivian Vance, was slumped on the floor, looking completely dead inside. Her phone slipped from her trembling fingers and smashed against the cold tiles, the screen shattering into a million pieces. My girlfriend was exhausted last night. My girlfriend gets jealous easily. Evan's brutal words echoed in her head on repeat, haunting her like an unbreakable curse. Every single syllable felt like a poisoned dagger twisting deep into her chest. For the longest time, she actually deluded herself into thinking she still had a fighting chance. She figured if she just swallowed her massive pride and acted a little softer, Evan would come crawling back to her. But man, was she wrong, dead wrong. Not only was his love for her completely wiped out, but he was already getting incredibly cozy and intimate with another woman. And there she was, looking like an absolute clown, still fantasizing about some ridiculous happily ever after that was never going to happen. A suffocating tidal wave of sheer humiliation and absolute despair swallowed her whole. She wrapped her arms tightly around her knees, curling up in the corner like a pathetic, wounded animal, and let out a guttural, agonizing sob. For the very first time in her life, she cried over a man, weeping until her heart practically tore itself apart. As for me, I decided it was time to put all my cards on the table. I never actually had amnesia, not even for a second. And I decided to drop this massive bombshell on the entire internet through a live stream. It all started earlier that day when Clara Frost got a sudden burst of inspiration. She wanted to go live, chat with her fans, and show off a little slice of our daily life. I can never say no to those puppy dog eyes of hers, so I caved. Once the live stream kicked off, she was bouncing around like a little kid on Christmas, excitedly showing off our house, our pets, and the insane walk-in closet and private art studio I had built just for her. The chat was absolutely losing its mind. "Oh my God, a match made in heaven. What kind of straight out of a romance novel plot is this? I am so single. I am literally dying right now. Where do I find a boyfriend like this? Young Master Green is way too doting. He is practically spoiling Miss Frost rotten." The vibes in the stream were ridiculously wholesome and sweet, right up until Vivian Vance decided to crash the party, totally uninvited. Somehow, she caught wind of what we were doing, blew right past security into the estate, and barged straight into our live broadcast. On camera, she looked like an absolute wreck. Heavy, dark bags dragged under her eyes, and that arrogant Ice Queen aura she used to parade around, completely gone. "Evan, come out here right now. I have something to say to you," she shrieked at the camera, her emotions totally spiraling out of control. The live chat exploded in seconds. Holy crap. Is that the ice-cold CEO Vivian Vance? Why the hell is she here? Total drama zone. Wait, am I seriously getting to watch this premium drama for free? Damn, she looks so exhausted. Is she trying to steal her man back? Clara jumped at the sudden noise, instinctively stepping in front of me like a fierce little cat protecting her territory. "Miss Vance, you need to leave right now," Clara said firmly. "Evan does not want to see you. Get out of my way." Vivian shoved past her and locked her crazy eyes dead onto me. "Evan, Tell me the truth. Do you honestly not remember anything at all? We grew up together. We literally have a marriage contract. Have you seriously forgotten everything we shared? She was desperately clinging to the past, trying to magically cure my so-called memory loss. Watching her stubbornly refuse to accept reality was honestly a bit pathetic and a whole lot of exhausting. I sighed. It was finally time to pull the plug on this little game. I strolled right up to the camera, snatched Clara's phone, looked directly at the millions of viewers watching live, and gave a casual wave. Hey everyone, I'm Evan Green. So, about my sudden case of amnesia and all this messy drama with Miss Vance, Miss Simmons, and my lovely Miss Frost, I figure it's time to clear the air once and for all. The entire internet collectively held its breath. Vivian froze dead in her tracks, staring at me blankly like a deer caught in the headlights. I stared straight down the lens, a wicked, mocking smirk pulling at the corners of my mouth. First of all, I never had amnesia. That one tiny sentence hit the room like a freaking nuke. The live chat went absolutely berserk, flooding the screen with an endless wall of exclamation marks. In that exact split second, all the blood completely drained from Vivian's face, leaving her looking as pale as a ghost. I remember everything, I continued, shifting my icy, razor-sharp gaze right onto Vivian. I remember exactly how you looked down on me, how you treated me like some cheap, throwaway accessory. I remember how Chloe Simmons played me. I remember how Chloe Simmons used me as nothing more than a stepping stone to boost her own career. And oh, I definitely remember how Dr. Stephanie Lane milked my resources while playing the role of a pure righteous saint. As for why I faked the amnesia, I paused, letting the tension hang in the air. I reached out, pulled Clara Frost tightly against my side, and leaned down to plant a soft kiss on her forehead. Honestly, because I was just so damn tired. I was absolutely sick of playing your twisted, rich family mind games. I just wanted to clock out and live a quiet, peaceful life with the woman I actually love. So, I took the easiest, most efficient route to cut all of you toxic people out of my life. I locked eyes with Vivian, enunciating every single word with venomous clarity. Faking my amnesia was just a foolproof way to make all of you clowns expose your true, ugly colors on your own, and then willingly get the hell out of my world. And as everyone here can see, mission accomplished. Game over, Miss Vance. My words were like a brutal executioner's blade, viciously slicing through the very last shred of Vivian's fake disguise and shattered dignity. She stumbled back a few steps, her eyes completely hollow as she frantically muttered to herself. No, this is impossible. You're lying to me, she screamed. Lying to you? I chuckled, savoring the moment. What exactly do you have that's even worth me lying about? From beginning to end, you were nothing more than a delusional clown in my little play. Unable to withstand this massive, reality-shattering blow, Vivian finally broke. A mouthful of fresh crimson sprayed from her lips. She tipped straight backward, collapsing hard onto the cold floor. The live chat went absolutely nuclear. This insane plot twist left millions of viewers utterly dumbfounded and scrambling to their keyboards. Meanwhile, I just calmly clicked off the stream and made a quick phone call. Uncle Gene? Yeah. There's a woman who just fainted by the front entrance. Call an ambulance to haul her away, will you? And from now on, absolutely no random nobodies are allowed to set foot inside the estate. With all that trash finally taken out, I scooped up Clara, who was still completely frozen in shock, and headed straight back to our room. Evan, you. She looked up at me, a million complex questions in her eyes. I just gently kissed her, shutting down any doubts before they started. Hey, don't be afraid. It's all over now. And yeah, it really was. All those toxic, messy past events and annoying enemies were finally staying exactly where they belonged in the past. From this moment forward, my world was only going to consist of clear blue skies, fluffy white clouds, exquisite 5-star food, top-tier fine wine, and the one person I truly loved the most. My epic life of luxury early retirement had only just begun. The end. Hey guys, please like and follow. This channel will keep dropping updates on all the absolute best web novels, manhwa, and comics, so stay tuned.